I wanted to just introduce you to some testing that I have available, and I have a discount for a limited time. So I thought I would share it with you, see what you thought. The tests that I have available through Great Plains Labs are the organic acids tests and their mycotoxin tests, their regular toxin test, and then also the IgG food sensitivity test. I don't know if you've done any of these with at all yet. The way that I found them helpful is that basically the organic acids test is identifying the metabolic activity that's going on in your body, in your intestines, and so especially in comparison with doing a gut test, you get more information on what's in your gut and in your body based on how your body is responding. And you see these metabolites, these results of how your body is metabolizing or responding to what's going on. They come out in your urine. So it's a urine test. You just mail it in, and I can actually show you mine actually. And it helps identify, like fungal infections, and it can tell us about how our detox pathways are working. And let me just pull this out. The OAT is a really fantastic diagnostic tool. And it's stuck in my envelope here. There we go. Oops, this is my husband's. I better pull out mine instead of showing you my husband's.
I just found Kylie's from 2017.
Oh, you did? Awesome. What did you notice about it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to see. Is there only one type of oat? Like if I did an oat, it's what you're talking about?
Yes, organic acids testing. And I work with the Great Plains Lab. So you can see here, it gives you, so the first section up here is our markers of Candida yeast fungus. And it tells you what the normal range is and where you're falling on that range. Like this particular byproduct of yeast, I'm a little high for. And it goes through and it has a couple of places where it marks when you're out of the normal range, which sometimes is not such a big deal. Sometimes it is more important to mention it here and show you proportionally where you're out of range. A lot of these things, even if you're a little bit high, really what we're looking for is like a consistent pattern of out of range, too high in certain areas. And then that can indicate like there is an overgrowth with bacteria, or there is a problem in your methylation process, or maybe there is a problem in how you're processing fatty acids and it's showing up in a couple of places. And then you can do more targeted support from there. And then, I'm sure, have you both done IgG food sensitivity testing?
What's the IgG?
I haven't.
That is the slower response. I like to remember it, the IgE is the emergency, like that's the big histamine response, and like the throat swelling, the itchies all over are histamine emergency kind of a response. And the IgG is the slower reaction. It's impacting your immune system, and it's taking a while for these things to show up, like the headaches, the like crankies, the behavior, the uncomfortables, like all those less specific kinds of reactions that are like big quality of life reactions. Those are typically the IgG.
Is IgG blood work?
Yes. So that is the finger prick, and you do it at home.
Then we haven't done that. No, we haven't done
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, it's a finger prick. And
I would,
you put it, you just let the drops of blood go on the little, there's a special paper that you get, and you put your finger down in 5 little circles, and you make sure to fill them up. And in our experience here, West, he's 6 now, with finger pricks, he just like gushes blood, boop, 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 it's done in a second. And then with Steve and I, it's like, okay, need more blood, like squeezing our fingers and swinging our arms. So maybe it's inflammation, maybe it's, I think with me, it's like stress and adrenals. And so my body is conserving and doesn't want, it's like when you're always cold because your adrenals are shot. Yeah. So anyway.
I would consider the oat again though, because it's from November 2017. So I mean, that's over 2 years ago. I also was so new to everything then. And I'll just be honest, I really didn't click with that practitioner. And so we didn't continue seeing her. So I can't, I can't honestly say I took a lot away from it. So doing it again, I think would be good.
Doing it again might be, well, it will be enlightening. It might also be really like clarifying and supportive in knowing which avenues you've been doing that have been like making changes and working, and just get to see kind of some of the results of all of your hard work.
Yeah. Did you mention a third test? IgG, oat, did you say another one?
Yeah, there are actually 5 tests that are available that I can mention. So there are the GPL tox is non-metal toxins, like just the junk that's in our world, like the junk that's blowing around from our heaters, the stuff that's off-gassing from our walls, the stuff that's out in the air when airplanes are flying over, all that stuff. There's a test specifically for molds. This is really interesting because like I feel like I've always had, like I get headaches when I'm around molds, like I feel really sensitive to them. And this was really like, it tells you exactly which kind of molds that you have more of in your system. And even though mine are quite in the red, they're actually not a big problem. I just have 2 out of the whole test that are elevated, and the 2 that I have that are elevated are actually super common. And so like we'll probably at some point do an investigation through our house, hire someone to come through and identify any mold any mold sources that might be here. And like it just might be an environmental thing just by living in this area. And then the final one, which I don't know, I don't necessarily recommend this one as the first test to do. It's a glyphosate test.
Oh, wow.
And
that'd be scary.
Exactly. Right. And so you have totally hit the nail on the head. Like we're exposed to a lot of glyphosate all the time. And so if you're interested, definitely like spend the money and do it. And if you're thinking about like, which would I do and which wouldn't I do if I were only going to do a few, I think it's safe to assume we have a lot of glyphosate in our systems and just do things that support glyphosate reduction. So that's definitely a dispensable.
What are the mold and the non-metal toxins that GPL, are those both blood or are they urine?
They're both urine. The only blood one is the IgG food sensitivity.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you can do a bunch all at once. And even the IgG food sensitivity, what is really super helpful to get from this. So the thing about this is if you've eliminated certain foods that you're sensitive to, you're not going to see a reaction. You're not going to see that show up on this test.
Oh, really?
Because it's the foods that you're eating and they're causing a reaction, and it's measuring the reaction that you're having. So
how many foods do they test?
How many foods? Let's see. Here we go. So this is the second page. And this is the first page.
Okay.
I can read the headings to you. Dairy.
No, I'm thinking it's probably fairly standard, right? We've had the blood work done, and that was really helpful.
And do you remember if you were doing the IgG or the IgE? Usually, regular practitioners will do the IgE.
This was a functional. It's an integrative practice. I'll look it up right now and tell you. And which one of these did you say the oat measures mycotoxins or no?
The specifically the mycotox profile. This one is specifically for molds.
Oh, it's in the mold one. Are mycotoxins molds?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. Let me just double check, I think.
I have this test here that I was supposed to do for Kylie, and I didn't do it. It's Real-Time Laboratories.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
I haven't, but I love what I'm looking at right now. That looks really interesting.
Yeah. So I need to send it.
Is that it? And that's a urine test as well?
This is urine, yeah.
Perfect.
I'll look up the blood one. Sorry, Sarah, I've been monopolizing the questions. All you.
No, please do.
That's okay.
The kids took an early nap, so they're in the eating and kind of running around. So
oh gosh.
I'm listening intently while handling avocado all over the floor. And
oh.
I'm gonna show them your avocado face. Say hi.
Oh, hi. Hi, Miss Avocado Face. Hi there. Do you like avocados? Oh, hi.
Their favorite.
I love avocados.
Great.
I think we're at a good point where I can kind of sit down for a few minutes.
Hi, Asher. Hi. Hi.
So I do have a question about the one that's like, I guess the glyphosate and the one that's about like what's in the world. Hold on, man, I'll get you another one. Like what's the benefits of those? Because you're always exposed to it. So like, is it just gonna, they're not, hold on, man, I'm gonna get you another one.
So they'll identify if there might be, if there's a good reason for you to aggressively address potential mold sources to eliminate an exposure. When you're looking at the oat in combination with like the mycotox or the GPL tox, the general toxins, what you'll see in here is you'll also see markers of your detoxification routes. So if you have, like if you don't detoxify well, then a mold exposure that might be tolerable for one person might be backing up and backing up and backing up and overflowing into other body systems in you if you have a problem with your detox. Like if you have the MTHFR anomaly or, any number of things.
Okay, so the oat and the IgG won't show if you have the MTHFRs or
the there are mitochondrial markers, and yes, you will see clues to the MTHFR problem in the oat. And then the reason you would look at other other toxic exposures is to know whether you could target a particular kind of exposure to support your body, and you could also simultaneously support it knowing what you know from the oat.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I don't feel like I'm explaining it super clearly. You know what might be helpful is I can read to you the sections of the organic acids test. The first one is intestinal microbial overgrowth. Oxalate metabolites. So you'll see if you're having problems, you know, with sweet potatoes, spinach, all of those things. Glycolytic cycle, mitochondrial markers, both different kinds, how you deal with amino acids and your Krebs cycle. It shows your neurotransmitter metabolites, so you get an idea of whether you're producing enough. Well, you get specific measurements of where you fall within or beyond the range of normal serotonin production and dopamine production. Let's see. And then you get to look at that along with your intestinal markers and find out, oh, okay, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, what can I do to support it? Do I want to bring in extra outside support? Who is that dog?
This is Kiki. Say hi, Kiki.
Oh, she's just very, very close to the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought she was as big as you.
That's funny. No, she knows when I'm on a video call and my hands are free, and that's when the only time the poor thing gets any mama love.
Okay.
So funny.
Oh my gosh, smart dog. Yeah, dogs are awesome. Let's see, your folate metabolism is here, ketones, nutritional markers. So you'll see if your body is actually storing and keeping enough of different vitamins. Let's see. And then here are your detoxification markers. And then these are amino acids down here. So that's the little test.
I did just look up, Kylie's was IgG for the foods, but that was also done a long time ago. Let me look. It was done, where did it go? September of 17, or August of 17.
Okay. Yeah.
So do you think that would be worth doing again?
I think it's interesting information, and it's a great way to find out, especially if you've eliminated some foods and you're 100% on them, like especially.
Oh, okay. So oats would be a good example. I've totally eliminated them as a result of those results.
Okay. So then what you would see is if you don't have anything that's highly reactive, then you're good. You're in the clear. If you might see another thing that is highly reactive. The thing about the IgG testing is it shifts pretty quickly.
The results or your body's reaction?
Your body's reactions.
Well, and thus the results, right?
Yeah, exactly, and thus the results. And so what I think is really helpful about this is in the beginning, when you're just addressing, like when you're totally befuddled by like the food reactions. This is really great to give you a clear example or a clear answer. And then when you've been doing, when you've been keeping those foods out for a while, then you get to see, is there any other food that's still a problem, that's causing other problems? So
we were going to use these 2017 results to do what the heck are the drops called? The immunotherapy for food allergies. You know what I'm talking about? The spray?
I have heard about them. We've never used them.
We were going to use those results to do those, it's not drops, but whatever it's called, I'll look it up. So I'm thinking because it's taken me so long to pull the trigger on that, doing it again would even be helpful. But also just knowing, like, if oat wasn't a sensitivity for her right now, not that I want to give her oats all the time, but good Lord, that would open up a lot of possibilities for us.
Yeah, it would. So in that case, you would want to actually feed her oats for a week or two before the test. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing about this, the IgG food sensitivity test, is it actually includes whether your body's reacting to Candida. So that's a really nice thing to know in combination with the organic acids test, which has much more detail.
What company is the IgG?
This is all from Great Plains Laboratories.
Oh, it is. Okay, so mine was ALA test for the IgG, and I don't think it showed Candida, so that's good to know.
Okay. Yeah. That was the only thing that that I actually had a high reaction to in my test.
Was which one?
Was the Candida. And
No foods?
No foods, because I'm pretty religious about keeping foods out. Although I did have a gliadin and wheat gluten showed up moderate. And that's interesting because I think that's just incidental exposure because I don't eat wheat. So, and Wes didn't have any high reactions to anything. I mean, I'm like a prison guard around his food, right?
Would it be beneficial to like eat a little bit of gluten and dairy before to just see like how high the level of reaction is? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I would do that if you're curious about it. That's a great way to get an answer. Because if, like I said, if you're not eating it before the test, then your body is not reacting, and so you can't capture a picture of what that reaction is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of want to know for like all of us to see what the level is.
Yeah.
If that really is, because it would also be a good way to explain to people like, hey, he's been tested for this and this is why, like, instead of just being like, whatever.
That's a great idea to use it as data. Clinical data. People like to have that, the numbers and the forms.
So we need to eat about a week worth?
I would say a week or two, but actually I'm going to contact Great Plains Labs to get their professional opinion about it.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you could find out like how much too, like is a bowl of yogurt okay, like enough to show, or do they need to eat cheese, or like how much of each? Does that make sense too?
Yeah.
Like what's the?
I'm just writing this down.
Yeah, this would actually, now that I'm understanding it a little bit better, this would open up a lot for us if, like I have been fairly religious on keeping her away from coconut. It's like one of her favorite foods and it's in everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's not having it more than 3 or 4 times a year. That's just an ingredient in something, not a ton, you know?
Right.
So like that, green beans are her favorite foods. That was the one she reacted the highest to. So things like that, if I did feed her them before the test and saw that it wasn't an issue anymore, that would change things over here.
That would be great. That would be awesome. You're making me think. I wonder if there's a way for me to, in a very organized fashion, offer this at the end of the picky eating class, or at some point make that available, because it is huge as far as freedom is concerned.
It is, yeah. Would you be able to send us a list of prices for these, or is it on your site?
I can send you a list. Yeah. And I can send you a list of what the regular prices are.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, great. And then we can go through them together. That's the other thing. Like we get to interpret them together.
That'd be great.
Cool. Well, that was what I had to share today. What else do you have going on? Want to ask any questions?
We don't really have much going on here.
Awesome.
I'll just share with you, Sarah. I had my coaching session with Alyssa yesterday, and trying to really commit to the time that I need for myself to be able to do this for Kylie. And I have a little bit of a win. I took a lunch break from work today, which I never do, and I charted out over the next 6 weeks. I'm taking half of the time off over the next 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm going to use that time to create the new like patterns of behavior that I need to fulfill my commitment to my work-life balance. So it's a big win.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Really cool.
Wow, that is huge action in,
Yeah.
I don't know, less than 24 hours.
I know. Well, last night, Alyssa, as we were getting off the call, one of the things I had talked about with her was getting a journal and starting to journal some things. And so she said, "When are you going to get your journal?" And and I said, "You just took the thought out of my mind. Like I was thinking about going tonight, and I went last night, and one of the journals said Carpe Diem, and I was like, "There's my journal."
Thank you for sending me that picture. That gave me the chills. Oh, that was so great to see.
That's cool. Like, how exciting.
Yeah.
So I love this, and it might seem like we're getting kind of like far flung from what everyone started with as far as gut health and their children, and I just want to like lay out the connection. When we're stressed, when we don't take care of ourselves and we're stressed, not only is it damaging our own gut health and just preventing our gut from healing and working really well, it's shifting our energy. And then that translates into our kids' energy, and that impacts their ability to heal and have awesome gut health. So it's amazing and wonderful that you're actually like digging in, Christy, and taking it on. Because these are like big habits. These are like lifetime just ways of being. And I just think you're fantastically courageous. I love it.
Thank you. Well, like you said, I mean, this is the changes that I make will have a big impact on the work I'm doing with Kylie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like, when we go on vacation, things really shift. I think you told me a vacation story, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I was back to work 2 hours after vacation, and instantly, like, so prior to vacation, a lot of my symptoms had started coming back from my Lyme and stuff. And then, and I knew it was because of my stress at work. And then I went on vacation and they were gone. And 2 hours back to work, there they were again. And I was like, this is not okay. Because if I can't be well, how can I be there for Kylie?
Yeah. Yes. And we're all in the same boat with you. So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's fascinating to me how like our mental and health affects everyone around us, especially our kids, but even our coworkers and our friends and husbands, of course. But
yes. Of course.
She actually said to me this morning, I dropped her off at school, and I think you both know because I've shared in here, one of the big struggles I have with her is what I can give her that will mask the taste of her herbs and her supplements that she has to take. And it's just been such a struggle for so long, whereas before it wasn't a struggle, it was fine. And this morning I dropped her off, and she was having that like chocolate thing that I had made her on the way to school, and she didn't want it. And when we got to school, she used that as the reason she wasn't going to have it. And I was like, if you don't like it, you need to tell me. And she did tell me, but it took a lot to get it out of her. And so I knew she needed to hear from me, like, thank you for being honest. And she needed to see that I wasn't upset. And she went into school. I left and turned to my car. She actually came out the school door and yelled back at me and said, I want you to know, Mama, that sometimes I feel like I shouldn't be honest because I don't want to hurt your feelings. So sometimes I feel like I should tell you that I like it, even though I don't like it.
She came back out to tell you that. Oh.
But like, this is how much it weighs on her. And it's my reaction to it. And I'm not reacting that she doesn't like it. It's not hurting my feelings that she doesn't like this silly concoction. I'm reacting to the stress of, well, what else am I going to find to get her to take this stuff? Right. But like, that's impacting her. That's stressing her out. She cares about me. And, and it's like trying to focus in on that stuff. That's where my mind should be. That's where my...
I understand that. I really deeply understand that because I have similar experiences with West. And I think about how underneath all of this, my decisions, about food, my wanting him to take his vitamins, all of that is kind of driven by this life or death kind of feeling. Yeah. And I get to remind myself frequently that he is super strong. Yeah. He's totally okay. He's okay. And so then I can step back and get a little lighter and let go of it. And, you know, when we're moms, so it's kind of programmed into us, like they depend on us for life. And it's hard to get that seriousness and that heaviness out, especially when we have a kid that reacts, that has like chronic issues that we're trying to keep at bay, and it's all out of love. And they're picking up on that energy. So all that was just to say, I get it. I'm working on that too every day. And West also, he will, sometimes I'll see his face and I'll know that he is appeasing me. And that gets to be part of the weft and weave of their life and their character. And it gets to pan out into amazing, powerful ways that they get to be in the world and with each other and with the families they'll create. That's kind of our purpose as moms sometimes, I think, is like to just like throw it at them because it just makes them stronger, right? It's a favor in some ways. Oh,
one of those, you'll appreciate this when you're older.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking of my friend Hannah, who has a 16-year-old right now. And so I get messages from her sometimes about how she has totally has no understanding of what the facial expressions mean, what the body language means. She's just constantly baffled by her 16-year-old girl. But when she was a baby, she made a joke that about going to therapy so that she can come up with entirely new ways to mess up her kid. Because we're always going to do something totally crazy that we're always going to impact our kid in ways that are just goofy.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of books and stuff, and they talk a little bit about like the what happens to us in childhood, how the subconscious affects us as adults. And I started getting panicked, everything I say to my kids, and what do I do, and how do I react? I'm I don't want them to be needing therapy because I reacted some way. And I'm and then I just was you're being silly. I'm probably the calmest out of all my friends as a parent. Just look at the reality and quit reading those books for right now.
Totally.
Sometimes it's good to get the information, but sometimes you've got to stop so that you don't go crazy.
And for all we try and control ourselves and the environment, and we're trying to create experiences for our kids, the truth is we can't really control what they perceive as important and not important. And when I've been digging into literature about releasing trauma and stuff like that, there are always stories about the things that adults have kind of stuck in their minds from when they were little and the interpretations they made about them. And we just we have no control over how they understand their universe and how they put rationality into things. I'm trying to think of an example, and I can't think of any right now, but just, I don't know if when your kids explain to you processes, when they explain something and you're oh my gosh, they really think that this is how babies are made, or whatever it is. Like, they just come up with their own things, and it's an empowering experience to process that as an adult. I don't know, have you ever done any of this kind of processing where you like totally address something that happened in your childhood and you get this huge like lift and expansion of like freedom and like the weight falling away? If we were perfect parents, they would never get that experience. And it's a pretty powerful experience to take responsibility for owning your stuff as an adult and getting through it. Does that help at all? Kind of validate those things that we do to our kids unwittingly?
Yeah. I've done some work on limiting beliefs and writing things down, and I have a stack of index cards with things that I've written down to read, and I was reading them daily for about 3 months, and now I just kind of refer to them to help, and it really shifted a lot, and made me realize just little things like something silly like money. Your parents are always saying, oh, we can't afford that, then you always think like there's never enough money. And your parents aren't saying that to you because they're like being mean and trying to teach you that you're never going to have money. But, you just like, that's just how they talk, and that's what they said. And to realize something just that innocent can impact something as an adult.
Yeah.
To just realize. And then also on the good end too, it's not always bad things. I'm like, oh, this is why I'm so compassionate, because my mom always said this to me and did that, like whatever it is, it's just really fun to go there and figure it out so that you can understand why you are the way you are, the good and the bad, and to enhance the strengths and to repair the weaknesses.
Totally. I love that. That money example is a perfect example. Yeah. Perfect. All done out of love and unintended consequences.
Yeah. And honesty, like they couldn't afford the baby doll or whatever it was I wanted, but.
Yeah.
You're making me think of, there is this one thing I'm like having a lot of anxiety around conversation with Kylie. We were reading a Jane Goodall book, and in her childhood, she hides in the grandparents' barn and watches a hen lay an egg. And as we were reading that page, Kylie said, oh, but that's not where our eggs come from. We make our eggs, right? And I froze, and I was like, oh man, because she's really sensitive. And I hadn't thought much about the day that we're going to have these conversations, and I haven't laid the foundation for them at all. And I didn't answer her. I tried to just keep reading, and she pushed, and I just knew what I was going to say was what I would want to say. So I just said, let's talk about it tomorrow. And then I went online and thought, how can I think about how I want to talk to her about it? And now I'm thinking, what is that conversation I want to have? Because she's the type of child who, I remember my childhood, will be devastated when she figures out where the food's coming on our table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think you can say to her?
Well, I found a video.
You guys. Yeah, you are coming in and out. Your speaker, like you're underwater a little bit.
I don't know what it is. I found a video that I really like that's about the food web. And so we spent an hour and a half, a couple days after that, drawing. I asked her if she knew what a food chain was, and she said, yeah, she had learned it at school. So we started drawing some food chains, and I asked her if she knew what the food web was, and she said no. So I tried to show her, what the food web is, and we talked a little bit about, she knows the term, like the circle of life. And we did that, and so she didn't like the idea that at the end, whatever was at the top of that food chain died and went back into the soil, but she was okay with it. But we never got to like any of them ending up on our table. You know, it was the cat was eating the mouse and the fox was eating the cat. And, you know, I think it was a decent foundation, and she was understanding it and having big feelings about it. But I don't know where to take it from there. I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. What I'm thinking about is the notion that in my my understanding of the world and nutrition is that we really need animal proteins, at least some, to supply our bodies with everything they need to actually run smoothly. And I'm thinking about the tribes that are largely vegetarian, but when a girl gets married, the couple immediately start eating animal products right through her childbearing years, because it's so important. And that we're part of nature too. Like, we're right in there in that web. And yeah.
I thought about, like, I feel like we're fairly committed to sustainable practices of where we get our food. We're not where I want to be, but we're making progress every year, right? And I feel like if I can make a deeper commitment to that, I can genuinely say to her that we're making choices. We can make choices about this, and that we know that the farms where we're getting our foods from, those animals are treated, they have a nice life, like, type of a thing. Because I think to her, that's going to be the big part of it, you know? And then as she gets older and realizes all the things that go on in this world with meat, that's going to be a big problem. And if we're showing that, yes, we're part of nature and we're trying to be intentional, you know what I mean? And that type of a thing, I think that could help.
Yeah, and you're setting an example and leading a new model to help other people do something similar. So she gets to be a leader in her choices.
That's good.
And a sharer of this compassionate way of eating. And I want to remind you that you're doing it perfectly right now. Even with any of the flaws that you see in your choices, you're feeding your family, you're conscious of your choices, and you're perfect. And you get to change your choices anytime, and you're totally doing enough. And you get to teach Kylie about always being enough, whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
You guys you're awesome, man. You're doing so great.
I'm obviously not at that point in my kids' lives. They're just kind of, they're toddlers. But both of my nieces, they're teenagers now. They both went through, and I have a lot of friends who went through that stage somewhere in elementary school where they realized what the meat actually was.
Hi, Asher.
And wanted to become vegetarians. But for all of them, it only lasted a couple of months. Like my sister, she was like, that's fine, but we're still going to continue to eat the way we eat. And, you can have the side dishes, and would, try to make protein shakes and stuff to get her the right nutrition. And then a couple months later, she's like, okay, I'm tired of this. I miss chicken or whatever it was. And, but that seems to be really common. Sorry, from talking about that. My phone's.
I hear a lot of that on Facebook too. Absolutely. Yeah. But I think about my sister has been a vegetarian since she was like 4 years old. She just knew. And she's tried at various points in her life to eat meat, and her body does not react well to it. I will say I think she has health challenges as a result of being a vegetarian too. But so I think about, like, if Kylie's going to go down that road, I will respect it and hope that we get out of it. But in the chance that like it's something longer term, I don't let my mind go there, because I just think, I hear so much of these kids, like we're just exposed to so much at such a younger age, and so it makes sense that elementary kids are making those choices, and maybe that's been happening before all the age of the internet, I don't know, but I think I would do the same thing, like go along but still try to show her what we do, and then hope for the best, because I mean, with our regimen right now, she needs those proteins.
Yeah.
And not just the proteins, she needs the other aspects too, the amino acids and
the fatty acids. Yeah, all of it. I am also thinking, I have two thoughts. One is, our world right now with like the way media is, it's like the outside influences and messages, we can't keep them out of our family. We can't protect our family from all this crazy messaging that's happening, that if, take away technology and we'd be back in a time where, we were just raising our family and the way we did things was the way they learned to do things. And we got to choose our system of thought within our family. And that is a luxury we don't have anymore. So we get to be creative around this. And I'm also thinking about how we used to eat the whole animal, like it was a feast.
Yeah.
And we ate everything and really celebrated. And it was such a special treat to have the liver, the heart, the organ meats. And so this might also be a way of including kids that don't want to eat animals in that celebration when it's just once in a while, and we bring in those like the celebration parts of the animal, the organ meats. I'm just thinking out loud about how to balance that. And I actually think about this a lot because right now we're eating way more meat than I ever expected I would be eating.
Yeah. Us too.
And it's really hard to, I'm not really okay with it. Like I'm okay nutritionally with it.
Yeah. And
I'm not so okay with how much we're taking from animals without a clear giving back.
That's where I'm at.
That's really good to hear. Because I've been thinking like, oh, should we do like 1 day a week vegetarian food? And I try it, and my husband, he's like, "This, I'm still hungry. I'm gonna." Yeah, he just like starts stuffing his face with whatever's in the pantry. But
familiar with that scene.
So I'm like, okay, how do I make vegetarian foods taste, just 1 day a week? And I have not successfully done it, but it's good to hear that because like in the health world, a lot of it is like they talk about that, like, eating less meat for the animal preservation, but we need it for our health too, but we don't need an excess of it, the whole balance part. But then just by 1 day, eliminating it 1 day a week is beneficial to the environment and to the animals and all these things. And I'm like, well, I want to be a part of that. But then it's like, okay, it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
When families used to eating it.
Right. Yeah. And I wonder how much in my own household, sometimes I wonder, is that really true hunger? Or is that like a predisposition to expect a certain thing? And so then you tell yourself you're hungry because you didn't get the thing you expected. How much of it gut bacteria, like, hey, we wanted that, like just oh, hi again. And so then I think, well, maybe should we do like a super fatty amino acid kind of a like smoothie before dinner? Like, mitigate this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. One thought I'm having as you're saying this is another message I might be able to give to her is like, we're trying to work a little bit, or I'm trying to work a little bit now on like listening to our bodies, because I'm trying to capitalize on this phase that she's in, knock on wood, of the vegetables right now. And she will ask for salad like every day. And so I could point to that and say, you know, let's listen to our bodies and see what our bodies are asking for, because our body asks for meat every day. And I now, especially from taking this course, Alyssa, I'm learning so much about listening to those messages and knowing that they're coming from somewhere. They're not just, you know, haphazardly happening. And so maybe that would work with her, because she would recognize that she's craving burgers and chicken and all the time.
Yeah, that's fantastic to empower her in being the like the keeper of her signals, you know, like she's in charge of her body.
Yeah.
What a fantastic gift.
That's really cool to hear. I'm like making notes so that for future when we get to that point. I try to tell him that kind of stuff with sugar related, and you know, the sugar he has is honey and maple syrup, but still, like if I say he can have something sweet and then he throws a fit, then I'm like, well, we can't have that now because your body's reacting. And he just kind of looks at me like, whatever. I want the muffin, Mom.
Yeah. Do you ever try switching out non-food prizes to kind of ease the to give them a reward, and just like kind of shift it out of the food, you know, if you're trying to distract them from the food?
No, I mean, because I guess I never thought about that, because I don't really use it as a reward, like, oh, if we do this, you'll get a muffin. It's just more of like, hey, let's make muffins today, and we'll make them, and then you know, he'll want it, and you know, like just for fun. And then if something happens,
You're so funny.
And I have to explain to him, like, okay, well, I don't want to deal with what's about to happen if you have this.
Yeah.
So when he gets upset, you know, but you know, he was already throwing a fit, so I'm not too upset about it. Like, you like seeing yourself. So I'm looking forward to being, you know, like how I can talk to him as he grows in that way, to where he can understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking it's such a good point, because here we were talking about like listening to the signals when they want the good foods, but using that in combination to learn how to listen to the signals when they're looking for the other foods, like what's really going on with your body and how can I help you through this moment, since I'm not going to give you this sugary, carby thing.
Yeah. So you're anticipating this, like, and when I say reward, I was actually thinking like binging the reward center in our brain, like that whole dopamine system. So if they're expecting that like rush of like eating the muffin and it feels so good and it's sweet and tasty and it's just like bing, 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 lighting up their brain, it's lighting up their reward center. And so we can like swoop in and be like Christy said, oh, you're like craving this kind of reward treat. What else can I do that will get that same reaction? And just like whoosh, move away from the food.
I love that.
Doesn't always work, and sometimes it does. And you can start setting patterns where they know that their best option is going to be to go for the other thing you've offered them, because they know you're not going to give them the food anymore. And here they have this great opportunity.
Yeah, I use a lot of patience and distraction in those moments.
Yes. Which, like I have to say, that whole process increases in effort exponentially when you have 2 toddlers. So that just goes back to you get to treat yourself to luxury at every moment possible, Sarah.
So far, she's pretty compliant. I only have one protester. So maybe by the time he's out of it, or she gets into it, he'll be out of it.
Just why not hope for the best? Maybe she'll miss it altogether.
Yeah, there we go.
It has been so delightful having this session with both of you.
Thank you. It has been.
You too. I'm super excited for you, Christy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate
When are you starting your
My first day off is early next week.
Okay, great.
I'm taking 3 days next week.
Cool.
Yes.
That sounds
Go.
amazing.
I just had a vacation last week, but that was a family vacation, and it is simply not the same thing.
Getting to sit at home and like stare at the walls instead of go to work, like you might need that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Snuggle with Kiki. She'll get more time than just when I'm on a video call.
Oh my gosh, that is going to be amazing. All right. Well, have a good week, everyone. I believe we have another session next week. I totally depend on the email reminder system that's set up. So
We do. I looked.
Great.
And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, and you'll send us the list, right, of tests and prices?
Yes, I will. I will. It will be today or tomorrow morning.
That's okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Enjoy your week off or your days off,
you.
Christy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.